Removing fluoride from the drinking water. We'll tell you the big decision from tonight's DeForest Village Board meeting. And imagine dogs chasing customers at a Quick Trip. Well, that's exactly what happened in Madison. Multiple people and police were injured. We'll have more. Plus, raising money for local veterans, the large show of support being made by one small Wisconsin community. That's all coming up now on News 3 Now at 10. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Sarah Carlson. Eric has the night off. We begin tonight with some breaking news. The CIA has become the first national security agency to offer buyouts to its entire workforce. The offer tells federal employees they can quit their jobs and receive roughly 8 months of pay and benefits. The move is part of President Donald Trump's efforts to shrink the federal government. Similar offers have been made to other federal employees through a deferred resignation program. Well, now to a look at your forecast. Alert day conditions are set to move into the region very soon. Alex is out on the weather patio with more on what we can expect. Hi, Alex.
Hey there, Sarah. Yeah, at this time tomorrow night, likely going to be having a little bit of freezing rain, a little bit of sleet. It'll be light, but just enough to cause a glaze, just enough to cause some travel concerns across southern Wisconsin if you have any travel plans during the Wednesday night going into the Wednesday overnight time frame. What are we expecting with the alert day conditions? A glaze of ice. This is from approximately 6 p.m. Wednesday through about 6 a.m. on Thursday. About 5/100ths of an inch of ice. You might be thinking, well, that's not that much. It takes just a little bit of that ice, as we all know, particularly on an untreated surface, to cause some accidents. And we've had a couple of events like this where we've had the exact same setup and we've had accidents, and hopefully that's not the case Wednesday overnight going on into Thursday. So we want to be abundantly clear. It could be an icy one Wednesday night. They already have winter weather advisories that are in effect to the south over portions of Iowa and Illinois. Conversations at the National Weather Service, and they issued these. There may be some expansion of this winter weather advisory into parts of southern Wisconsin as we get into tomorrow. Here we see that light snow breaking out a little bit later than forecasted yesterday in the early evening hours, but still overspreading southern Wisconsin. Take note of the bit of that pink Platteville over to Monroe, Darlington, Janesville, Elkhorn by this time tomorrow night, maybe mixing in as far north as Madison. And even if that light frozen precipitation gets a little bit of a break or a lull, we could have some freezing drizzle adding to that glaze, and then everything should improve by the time we get to Thursday morning. It's chilly out here on the patio right now. 9 in Camp Douglas, 17 Madison, and 18 in Janesville. So these surfaces are cold. They are primed for this frozen precipitation, and we have more frozen precipitation in the forecast in the form of snow. When that comes, I'll let you know coming up in Maine weather.
Thank you, Alex. Now to continuing coverage on the missing teenage girl from Beaver Dam. It turns out the man suspected to be with her is switching out his license plates on his vehicle. 16-year-old Sophia Martha Franklin was last seen at her home Sunday night. An Amber Alert went out for her yesterday. Police say she's 3 months pregnant and believed to be with this man, 40-year-old Gary Day, the father of her unborn child. There's also a no contact order between these two. Day is believed to be driving a 2014 Buick LaCrosse using various license plates, one being a Pennsylvania plate that reads KGW 5186. The other is an Arkansas plate that reads BBR 20L. And if you have any information on their whereabouts, please contact Beaver Dam Police or the Amber Alert tip line. Those numbers are right there on your screen. Tonight, fluoride in drinking water is on the agenda for the Village Board in DeForest. Board members discussed this issue back in January, but they tabled it after some pushback from residents. Maddie Heimsch brings us tonight's final vote.
The Village of DeForest Board voted 4-3 to get rid of the fluoride in their community drinking water in what many of the board members called the hardest vote they've ever been a part of.
I've never done as much research on a subject as this.
This has been a miserable couple of months, back and forth and back and forth.
The issue of fluoride has been a contentious one in DeForest for months now, countless pieces of evidence and public comment of varying opinions having been submitted to the board. Brenda Staudenmeyer has been a prominent voice in the debate. She's not a DeForest community member, but an anti-fluoride advocate and part of a successful 2024 lawsuit against the Environmental Protection Agency.
These chemicals are dirty.
In which it was ruled that the recommended amount of fluoride presents, quote, an unreasonable risk of injury to health or the environment. But many experts disagree.
Community water fluoridation prevents cavities and improves overall health. In hard stop. End of comment.
The lawsuit cited information from a National Toxicology Program report that both the American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Dental Association have discredited. Dr. Tom Reed, president of the Wisconsin Dental Association, says fluoride is more than just safe.
Man, woman, child, across the socioeconomic spectrum benefits from having fluoride in their water. So it really is the original health equity success story.
But Staudenmeier, alongside board members records show she had been in private contact with about the issue, stood against fluoride and the health organizations that support it.
But history reminds us that expert consensus has often been wrong.
Leaving the vote with 3 in favor of keeping the fluoride.
We feel that more residents, and it's a larger portion, it's not close, want to keep the fluoride in the water.
But a majority of 4 in favor of removing it. Reporting in DeForest, I'm Maddie Heimsch, News 3 Now.
All right, thank you, Maddie. Another story, a Wisconsin man is facing charges for impersonating a Border Patrol agent. Late last month, a Muskego police officer was helping a teenage driver who hit a deer when a man pulled up. He identified himself as Hank Glenbin and showed the officer an ID card that stated Department of Homeland Security with his photo. However, U.S. Customs and Border Protection told police Glenbin is not an agent. He was arrested, telling police he did create the fake ID. Glenbin is set to appear in court next week. At the Capitol, lawmakers introduced a new proposal that would require local law enforcement to work with federal immigration enforcement, and that could include the Dane County Sheriff. In a statement today, Sheriff Calvin Barrett tells News 3 Now that the proposal undermines local law enforcement control over policing and will cost Dane County taxpayers. That cost comes from a federal request to house inmates in a county jail on behalf of ICE.
We don't want Wisconsin on the hook for this. Therefore, sheriffs shall seek reimbursement from the feds for costs incurred in complying with the retainer.
The risk of not complying? Well, Dane County could lose out on 15% of the funds that it gets from the state government. But this faces an almost certain veto from Governor Evers. Famous sci-fi author Neil Gaiman is being accused of sexual assault in a lawsuit filed in New York, Massachusetts, and then of all places, Wisconsin. Gaiman is best known for his titles, including The Sandman and Coraline. The lawsuit alleges this author, the Menominee resident, violently and repeatedly raped his former babysitter, Scarlett Pavlovich. Pavlovich is also suing Gaiman's wife, Amanda Palmer, accusing both of them of human trafficking. Gaiman has denied all allegations against him, saying that these encounters were consensual. A very scary moment for customers at an East Madison Quick Trip last night. Multiple dogs escaped, chased, and bit several people. According to the Madison Police Department, a woman was living with about 10 dogs in a large vehicle. Well, she was parked at the Quick Trip when they escaped. A total of 8 people were injured, including a police officer and a paramedic. The animals were all corralled and taken to the Dane County Humane Society.
In some cases, we know that the bite did break the skin. In others, it was just people reporting some bruising. It sounds like this has been a kind of a repeat problem. The animal control officer, brought up that these dogs have attacked people before in the past.
No animals or people were seriously injured. The woman was given 15 city citations, though, and 1 referral for a criminal offense. Well, the Dane County Humane Society is rehabilitating dozens of cats that were rescued yesterday from a hoarder home in Waupaca County. In total, about 100 cats were transferred from the home. The owner is terminally ill and unable to relocate the cat colony on their own. So that's where the Dane County Humane Society and also Angel's Wish in Verona stepped in, taking 43 of the animals. The Be the Change Rescue is working on retrieving the rest.
They all have individual needs, and we want to make sure we're reaching all of them. Are they socialized at all? Some were very, very scared and were not socialized very well, not as much as him, where he's just very curious about everything.
They're sweet. Now, many of these cats are still being treated for fleas and ringworm, but the Humane Society says they will go up for adoption once they are healthy and be popular, I'm sure. Well, the Madison School District is seeing progress in its special education work. Between the 2019 to 2020 and 23-24 school years, the district saw a 4% increase in elementary schools, 8% in middle schools, and 10% in high schools. Students who are receiving an individual education program, or IEP, are included in general education 80% of the time or more, and that exceeds the state target of 76%. Well, a UW Whitewater chemistry professor has been awarded a UW Innovation Grant. Stephen Gerard is one of 3 recipients for his proposal of sea change, silicides, superalloy, and biomedical coatings from sustainable and recycled feedstocks. I got that out. The grant totals over $175,000 for 2 years. Gerard and his team will work with UW-Madison's Department of Neuroscience to analyze the utility of the coatings and connect students to research and graduate programs as well. Very cool. A local nonprofit is holding a fundraiser to support veterans in the village of Orfordville. Saturday, Vets Roll will be hosting its 14th annual fundraiser in Orfordville. And so far, this small community has raised more than $500,000 for former service members. Organizers say there will be 50-50 raffle tickets, silent auctions, and food.
But to think that they have come here 14 years in a row now and helped put this together and surpass the $500,000 mark in a community with 1,800 people in it, it's just amazing, and it just makes your heart feel good.
Yes, it does. The event will begin at 5 in the afternoon on Saturday at the Orfordville American Legion 209. Vets Roll says this fundraiser is the largest one that they do every year. Well, after the break at 10, Alex tells us about our snow chances. It could be coming later this week. And also, President Trump meets with Israel's prime minister, the proposal he made for the U.S. to increase its presence in the Middle East.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
President Trump welcomed the first foreign leader during his second term to the White House. This as the president suggests reshaping Gaza with a U.S. takeover. Erica Brown has more from the White House.
President Trump warmly welcomed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House.
I think that Gaza is a demolition site right now.
Before the two leaders held a meeting, Trump described his plans for other countries to accept displaced Palestinians.
You take certain areas and you build really good quality housing, like a beautiful town, like someplace where they can live and not die, because Gaza is a guarantee that they're going to end up dying.
After their meeting, Netanyahu and Trump held a joint news conference where the president proposed U.S. ownership of Gaza.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site.
Netanyahu said the idea should be considered.
He sees a different future for that piece of land that has been the focus of so much terrorism, so many attacks against us, so many trials and so many tribulations.
President Trump says Gaza can be restored and transformed into a Riviera of the Middle East.
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East.
He also addressed the war in Ukraine, saying talks are ongoing to bring the conflict to an end, calling it a, quote, absolute slaughter. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
In other news, Waffle House restaurants are adding an egg surcharge amid higher prices. Customers will now have to pay 50 cents more per egg at the restaurant chain. Waffle House says the surcharge is only in place until egg prices come down. The prices have soared amid a shortage following a bird flu outbreak. Well, it's a cloudy and cold day and a wintry mix on its way. It rhymed and I didn't even get it out.
It's all good.
We have Alex with this first warm weather forecast. What's going on?
Yeah, and when you say, Sarah, that it's cold out there, those surfaces are being primed right now. I was out in the patio. Temperatures are down into the teens out there. When I mean priming the surface, those surfaces are very cold, so you put any precipitation on a really cold surface that's well below freezing, like freezing rain or freezing drizzle, you have the setup for an alert day set of conditions, which I'm focusing from 6 o'clock Wednesday to 6 a.m. Thursday. And I'll explain the refinement of the timing here in just a moment. Here we go. That afternoon snow potential, it's lower as it looks like right now. That snow may be struggling to make it to the ground with dry air in place. Eventually it will. So as we get into Wednesday evening after 6 o'clock, that snow, the freezing rain, the mix overspreads the rest of southern Wisconsin. It will be light precipitation, but enough to cause that glaze on area surfaces, especially if they're not treated, with that wintry mix continuing, and freezing drizzle also a distinct possibility between the periods of light freezing rain and the light snow, and then that all ends by the time we get into Thursday morning. Best chances for that freezing rain will stretch from the Wisconsin River Valley along U.S. Highway 151 over to Madison, and from I-94 points to south towards the Wisconsin-Illinois border. North, better chances for snowfall. As we look at future track right now at 6:30 in the or 6:30 at night, one band of snow moves to the north, but that band may be struggling to make it to the ground with the dry air in place. Eventually it will make it to the ground. Boscobel, Lone Rock, snowflakes falling by around 6 o'clock. Here's that mix of that light freezing rain over southwestern Wisconsin, overspreading southern Wisconsin again, eyeing up the Wisconsin River Valley, Madison, and points to the south for that potential for that freezing rain. Better chances for that snow to the north of Madison, up towards the Dells and up towards central Wisconsin. And then conditions will start to improve as we get towards that rush hour commute on Thursday. You may be looking here at this ice potential. Not a whole lot, but it doesn't take much to cause slick spots out there, especially in untreated roads, those back roads that don't get a lot of the friction from enough vehicles driving over them. So you want to be cautionary as you drive Wednesday night going on into the beginning of Thursday. Snowfall amounts, again, north of Madison, perhaps an inch or so, and that could cause some slippery stretches on area roadways tomorrow night. Those temperatures waking up to Wednesday morning, they're going to stay pretty steady in the teens overnight tonight. We'll only get up to around 30, so those cold surfaces aren't going to warm up a whole lot as that precipitation moves in, and that sets the stage for that ice. 17 in Madison, that's a common number in Dane County. We're down to the single digits to the north of Madison, so again, very cold conditions across the area right now, and as I mentioned, that's priming those surfaces for the frozen precipitation Wednesday night going into early Thursday. The weather system on Saturday here, better chances for accumulating snow over portions of central Wisconsin. We'll keep a close eye on that. We'll still get some snow on Saturday here in southern Wisconsin.
And coming up in sports, another beatdown at the Kohl Center. How the Badgers added to their home win streak over the Hoosiers. That's next on News 3 Now. To say Wisconsin has owned Indiana and Madison would be an understatement. The Kohl Center is a house of horrors for the Hoosiers. 8 days after it was opened was the last time they won here. Remember, it was built back in 1998. The coaches in that game were Dick Bennett and Bob Knight. Since then, it's been 20 straight home wins for the Badgers in this series, and they were red hot to start this one. Nolan Winter with a little touch on that fadeaway, Jay. Wisconsin jumped out to a 19-2 lead, and that lead would grow. John Tonje rocks the rim in transition, and everything was turning up Bucky. Then later in the first half, there was a Gilly James sighting. Carter Gilmore dials one up from deep. Who's your daddy? Well, the Badgers are again. That's 21 straight in Madison over Indiana. 76-64 was the final. High school boys hoops, Memorial hosting Sun Prairie East in a Big 8 battle. Cardinals down early, and Chris Davis Jr. trying to bring his team back. He gets in the lane and kisses it off the glass, but the Spartans held him in check, and they had it going on offensively. Abe Dykstra finds Braden Banya all alone under the hoop. That bucket makes it a 19-point game, and nobody in the gym could guard Ezra Ligon. He takes it strong to the rack for two of his game-high 23 as Memorial knocks off Sun Prairie East 78-53. It was a weekend to forget for the Wisconsin men's hockey team, swept at the hands of their rival Minnesota, but there's no time to dwell on those losses. As Mike Hastings said today, Penn State doesn't care that we lost 2 games. His team has to flip the page, and they have to do it in a hurry because the Nittany Lions are coming to the Kohl Center this week, and they're playing some of the best hockey they've played all season long.
The one thing about the Big Ten is you better turn the page in a hurry and focus on what you get to control moving forward. Doesn't mean you don't understand what just happened in a positive or a negative way, but you better move on right away, or you're gonna give up points that you can't afford to give up at this time of the year.
And staying on the ice, be sure to check out this week's Wisconsin Huddle. Ben Dexheimer stops by to talk all things Badger men's hockey. Show airs at 6:30 on Friday, right here on News 3 Now. We're back after this.
Tonight.
That's fine, China. I can survive without my high tech. I can read a book. Siri, open book.
All new CBS tonight.
So we're aware that many of you couldn't hear this story last night, so we wanted to show it again. We're excited about it. California's Department of Fish and Wildlife helped one massive animal after the recent wildfires. In this post on Facebook, the department says an Altadena homeowner had to be evacuated because of the Eaton fire. But when they returned, the utility company said the power couldn't be restored because a bear was under their home. Look at the sweetie. This bear is known around the neighborhood as Barry or Victor, because why not? An expert had to be called in to remove the animal, but then they assessed the size and it was determined that Barry Victor was too fat to be tranquilized. So a bear trap had to be placed nearby, and within minutes, the animal came out of the crawl space and was trapped and is fine and released. So the homeowner's utilities are restored along with the crawl space now being bear proof, but I assume that Barry or Victor will find his or her food just fine, being that big. But how sweet the neighbors are, like, oh, it's just Barry.
Yeah. Just our neighbor.
And I guess maybe the bear heard Victor and thought, I'm safe. I'm in charge.
Well, I'm kind of curious what they put inside the cage to lure him to eat.
If I came home and there was a bear in a crawl space, I'd move. I'm not coming back. He knows how to get in. He knows where I live. He knows where my food are. I'm out of there.
I think that bear's after you now.
Yeah, he's not. All right. I'm not going home.
So, and now to the weather. We have an alert day, we know, not for a bear, but...
Well, the weather is kind of a bear, so to speak, huh? See, I've got my transition. Even my producer said, hey, Alex, that's pretty good. Little light freezing rain. It doesn't take much to cause that glaze. We want folks to be aware that the time frame between 6 p.m. Wednesday and 6 a.m. Thursday, that's the time that we could be looking at that glaze. It could be causing some road issues tomorrow night. So be on the lookout and take it easy tomorrow night on the roads.
Will do. Thanks so much, and thanks for joining us, everyone, for News 3 Now at 10. Have a great night.